Our wonderful panel discussion this evening, and we're here exploring your heroes or heroines journey. And we've got some great panelists that are joining me tonight to have this conversation, or maybe today, no matter where you are in the world. But we're coming to you, I'm coming to you from Sydney, and I run one of the wonderful Sydney local tribes in this beautiful community. So let's get into the panel. So today we're here to talk about the heroes or heroines journey. And really that journey is centered on moving forward towards the balance of the masculine and feminine experience, while the hero's journey is often about the glory and the achieving victory. So if we look at it from a feminine and masculine aspect, we are here to actually achieve two different things potentially, but as we are both masculine and feminine, we are bringing that together within ourselves. So we're here to talk about the human experience and really that journey within ourselves, about that feminine and masculine aspect, and also how that actually comes to life as we have that quest of life. So those types of things that are on the inner and outer challenges that we have as we have this beautiful human experience. And, you know, some questions to ponder as you're listening to the panelists is, what journey are you walking, and how can you come back into alignment with some of these experiences and stories that will be told by the panelists as well? So I'm going to dive in and get them to introduce themselves and talk to you a little bit about who they are and where they're from, as we then jump straight into introducing ourselves. And Adela, I'm going to ask you to go first with the introductions, and then I will invite Krystal to go next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adela. I am originally coming from Czech Republic, living in Melbourne, Australia. So we're having evening now, and I'm a multi-passionate woman. So everything creative feels like home to me. My background is fashion design. I am a former dancer, and I'm intuitive guide and a healer. And I run the Embodiment Woman Circle for sacredyou.love.
Fabulous. Thanks, Thanks, Adela. Krystal?
Hi everyone, I'm Krystal Hille. I'm originally from Germany. I live outside of Melbourne, and I am a publisher. I call myself a transformational and visibility visionary as well. So I'm bringing people together and really helping them birthing their story. So diving deep into their own hero's journey or heroine's journey now. I have a background as a Tantra teacher, life coach, Reiki master, and theatre director.
Wonderful, very interesting. Looking forward to hearing more about your experiences and also those that you support as well. Jo, would you like to go next into introducing yourself, and then we'll go to Natasha to just introduce herself as well too. Oops, Jo, we're on mute.
Sorry, I'm Jo Cooper. I'm in the UK, so yes, it's morning here. So I'm an energy healer. I kind of, well, I'm doing what I do because of ill health that I've had throughout my life, which I'm sure we'll come on to a little bit more later. So I'm very much sort of, well, I have been focusing on helping people gain freedom from migraines, and I'm just beginning to widen the field a little bit just to help people thrive in, you know, in business and life, because with the work that I do, it's so much bigger than helping people gain freedom from migraines. You know, there's so much more to it. So yeah, it's really exciting. I absolutely love what I do and helping people transform, really.
Fabulous. Thanks, Jo. Natasha.
Hi. Am I on mute? No. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Brilliant, because my internet's really bad. So my name is Natasha Sharma. I am an author, speaker, and a mentor. By profession, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, so I'm in the same sort of wheelhouse as Jo there. I have been working with people for the last 10 years with physical diseases and anything that requires subconscious mind reprogramming, unlearning. And now I have gotten my expertise in basically self-worth with money and manifestation. A lot of, like, I've realized the basis of a lot of stuff is how much we think about ourselves and the doubts and the fears and the limiting beliefs. So by focusing on this point, I'm having a lot of success shifting my story, shifting the stories of those who I'm mentoring. And similarly, in our community, in the Sacred You community, I run a weekly money and manifestation, a tribe to support people in the same thing. So that's what I do. And I write and speak about death. That's my passion project, talking about death openly so that it's a normal conversation and it's not like highly charged or anything. So I write about that and speak about that as well. And thank you for having me on this panel. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thanks for joining us, and some great, obviously, correlations to rites of passage and dark night of the soul with some of those aspects that you spoke about as well too. So all very interesting panelists with lots of different diversity, but also some similarities too. So I can't wait to get into the conversation. And of course, I'm Bex Smith, your cheerleader for change, and I am a body psychotherapist, speaker, author as well, and pretty much just your cheerleader for any change you're going through. So I help people through transformation, through change, through rites of passage, and very passionate about the nature and also the elements. So I use the elements to actually bring forward my work into the world, and I use nature as a mirror to help us really get through with the seasons and our seasons and nature's seasons as well. So looking forward to the conversation. So I wanted to just talk about, of course, the hero's journey or heroine's journey is really a narrative structure that appears in many myths, legends, and stories throughout history and across cultures. And it's a pattern of stages that a hero or a heroine typically goes through on their journey of self-discovery, growth, and transformation. So really, it's about what we're going to talk about today is self-discovery, growth, and transformation, and how we've actually brought that into our lives. We've called it in because usually the hero's journey typically involves the protagonist, which receives the call to adventure. So when have we received the call to adventure to go on that journey within ourselves? And then how have we actually dealt with that fear and uncertainty as we've stepped into that unknown, and the challenges and obstacles, gotten through that, and then how we've celebrated ourselves as well too as we've come through the other side of that journey. So I just wanted to put some context of the hero's or heroine's journey. If you're tuning in and not really understanding what that topic was, that's what it's all about. And just touching on one of my favourite heroine's journey, and that's of the goddess Inanna. So in the Inanna myth, the goddess embarks on a journey to the underworld where she intends to conquer and rule over it. And along the way, she passes through 7 gates and is stripped of her power and status, and eventually arriving in the underworld naked and vulnerable. However, with the help of her loyal servant, she's ultimately able to escape and return to the world above. Through her journey, Inanna undergoes huge transformation, gaining new knowledge and insights about herself and her place in the world. So really, this is about that call to action, the rites of passage and challenges and obstacles, and then even the eventual transformation and return in that aspect of self. So I really love that there's lots of different myths out there, and also some, ones that we might know as Cinderella, or, the psyche of Cupid or something like that as well too. So I just wanted to bring that context to the conversation, because we may talk about that, but we also will be talking about our panelists' personal experience as they have travelled through their own heroine's journey. So enough from me. I'm going to flick over to the panelists, and I'm going to start with Krystal, actually, for the first question, which are, what are some common elements that define that hero's or heroine's journey that we just spoke of?
That's a great question. I think it feels like there is always the call to leave the known world. That's really that first step, and what that means is very different. But we're all being asked to embrace uncertainty, to take a leap of faith. Sometimes this happens, we're being invited by what I call the universe. The situations arise, and it's like, okay, this is an opportunity for you to embark and just leave the known. But then a lot of the time, more often so, it happens like a slap in the face, and, in form of a redundancy, in form of an illness, the death of a loved one. All of these things are shaking up the world as we know it, and make us embark on a journey to redefine who we really are. I was just talking to a client this morning who's writing her story, and hers was all about one day asking herself this question, is this all there really is? Who am I really? You know, and I think we can all relate to that story when suddenly we're asking these questions, we're waking up and there's this niggling feeling that this can't be all there is. Surely there must be more to life. And then this, by asking the questions, then courageously listening to the answers and really shedding the layers, as you were speaking, you know, going into that underworld and shedding the layers of conditioned beliefs and perhaps roles that we've embraced, and really looking at, well, who am I and what makes me happy? Who am I beyond the wife, the mother, the teacher, that whoever I am, and really looking at, okay, what is the essence of me? What do I authentically love to do? What am I passionate about? And that quest then bringing us into a career change perhaps, and really embarking more and more on a soul mission. And I feel like that's very collectively very much what's going on at this time. We're all being asked to, if we haven't already, embark on that hero's journey to come home to ourselves ultimately in a deeper way.
Beautiful. I love that, really, that deep connection to self and that self-reflection as well too in that journey. How about you, Jo? What are your thoughts of some common elements as well, or maybe even an example with a client?
Yeah, I think, well, really my example would be myself. So, you know, I sort of set out to, you know, tick all the boxes, be sort of successful, get the good job, all of that kind of thing. And then got migraines when I was 22. So I kind of ploughed on and sort of struggled through that. And then several years ago, I had a skiing accident and it just completely, totally floored me. And so although my physical wounds were healing, you know, mentally and physically, I felt broken. And broken isn't actually a word I like to use anymore, but it's very much how I felt at the time. And it was a very, very strong call to action. You know, I was literally lying on the sofa for months. And I just suddenly had this really, really strong realization. It's covering me in goosebumps just thinking about it. It always does. This strong realization that I was going to come out of this stronger than I went into it. So then it was a case of, okay, so how am I going to make that happen? I'd been doing Reiki or using Reiki for my own use for about 20 years at this point, because I'd used that for my own sort of pain relief, but I'd never sort of had any intention of taking that, you know, to clients. So, you know, energy healing was what I had to a certain level. So I'm like, right, okay, it's time to progress that journey. So I completed my level 3 in Asui, which I hadn't felt that I needed before. And then since then, I've done Kundalini Reiki, and I've learned another technique called metaphysical anatomy, which very much works on psychosomatics. So it's depending on, you know, where you've got a pain, an ailment, or a disease presenting in the body, gives us a clue as to what the emotional stress is at the root cause. So I went on a really deep journey. I changed my mindset and my diet as well. I did that first. And I ended up on a really deep journey, figuring it out, sort of thinking, okay, so, you know, my body is communicating with me. It's telling me stuff. I've got to start listening to it rather than just ploughing on, you know, doing all the normal stuff. So, yeah, I completely changed track. Yeah, I have a very different job now to the one I used to. I had a kitchen showroom prior to the accident. I was designing kitchens and things. So I've had a few changes to get here, and I think it's really about owning the gifts. You know, it's really about, you know, putting my head above the parapet, is it, and saying, hang on, you know, I do this. I work with guides. I'm an energy healer, and I'm getting outstanding results, you know, not only for myself but also for clients. And just being truthful about that. And yeah, of course, Dark Night of the Soul came in there as well a little while ago. Beautiful.
So owning your story as well too, that's definitely part of that heroine's journey, and that celebration of self. Beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jo. I'm going to go to Adela next, but I'd just like to put a call out to those that are watching. Feel free to let us know if you've got any questions for the panelists, or questions about the topic that you just like to ask as well, because we're going to be taking your questions. So put it in the chat or comments wherever you are. We will find it, and we will be able to answer those questions as well. So Adela, I'd love to go to you next. So what are some of the common elements that define the hero's or heroine's journey? Maybe you've got an example for yourself, for a client as well.
First, I just want to thank Joe for the word ownership, because that's one of the first words that came to me when you asked the question. And I feel it's something really important, owning, pretty much everything. I want to speak politely, so I can't find another word now. But you know what I mean. Anyway, this made me think also about success. And through the years, I had like different perspective on success. And what I came up with lately, the latest one was that what is success to me? And I feel it has to do with the heroine journey, with my journey. And that is actually the acknowledgement of the dark and the ability to turn it into light. So this is how I see the heroine journey. And another words and aspects that came to me when you asked me the question, it was humility, it was acceptance, and perspective. I had so many, intentions, and I had so many wishes, but lately there's just only one thing I'm asking when I wake up, and it is, I just set the intention to experience the world through the divine, to see it with the divine eyes, letting my divine to speak through my voice, and hear with the divine ears, and allowing myself to sense everything through the divine. And I'm just observing what's going to happen, and I'm really enjoying that right now. And I feel that is great example of the heroine journey as well.
Absolutely agree, and love that you called out those words that inspired you or you felt, and that's definitely something that is felt at different stages of that beautiful journey that we go on. Natasha, I'd love to ask you, what are some of the common elements and perhaps an experience of yourself and a client?
So I have a lot of similarities with Joe's story. So I had my call to action, like I said, about 10 years ago. And interestingly, the things that Joe was saying, so my company is called Body Speak, and my tagline is, your body's always speaking to you. All you have to do is listen, because I use hypnotherapy in the same way you use the modality that you were talking about, Joe. It's all I think all healing modalities, everyone uses different things, whatever it resonates with whoever, and all roads lead to Rome ultimately. And it's all about self-discovery, self-realization, and like what Adela was saying, 100% self-responsibility. Everyone's saying the same thing, right? We own our story. I think that's the bravest thing that we do. First of all, as the hero or the heroine was first called, is you have to step up into your own light. You have to own your story. You have to accept that you are here for a reason. There is a bigger picture. There is a bigger story that we can't see. But if each of us step into our own light with full 100% responsibility, self-ownership, then the whole world transforms then. And and we don't need to know what the whole plan is. We just have to be aware that we have been conditioned and socialized from our inception by society, by human beings who have not necessarily had the call to action. So our upbringing it doesn't encourage our self-belief, at least during our generation. I think now people are getting more self-aware. There's more, conscious parenting. There's more understanding your children are unique and all of that stuff now, but it hasn't been so far, right? So that was my first call. However, with listening to you speak, Bex, and introduce this panel discussion, just goosebumps to another level is, so I'll just show you where I'm sitting right now. Okay. So I am in the middle of nature. I have had a call from the universe to come up to these mountains in India and settle here, leave the city life, uproot myself. And what you were saying about nature. So so India compared to the West, if you're in Australia or if you're in Canada and you have a cabin in the woods, it's no big deal. But in India, the infrastructure in rural areas is like a non-existent. So for us to come here is a very brave decision full of a lot of challenges. So exactly the journey that you described and the personal transformation that's happening to me and my husband, the friendships, everything is shifting so rapidly. And even though I've worked on myself so much, I realize how much city-based fear is in me. Yesterday, there was a thunderstorm. We went driving out to like hear the thunder and see the lightning. We felt like storm chasers. But then I got really scared and hid under a tree because I was like, what if I get struck by lightning? Oh my goodness. And then I lay down on the earth. I put my yoga mat and I lay down on the earth, grounding, raindrops on my face. And suddenly I felt scared. What if a bug crawls over me? And I'm like, what is all of this? You know? So we are building a home with very little infrastructure. We're going to start, it's going to be monsoons. Every single, I can write my own fairy tale, basically, at the end of this journey, when I finally move here next year, hopefully. So
Oh, I think we've lost you, Natasha. We did actually say that at the beginning that Natasha had some internet issues potentially, and I think that from where she is, we can tell.
Every single person is moving home. It's really crazy. So I just seem to be supporting and being a cheerleader for people in this transformation at various different stages. So that's what my clients are all doing. So thank you for listening.
No problems. We did lose you for a little bit there, but you did come back, and I think we got the essence of it, which is helping your clients through transformation and change as well too, which is fabulous. And it's great that you're experiencing that with your husband, because I think that you're also witnessing his hero's journey and having your heroine's journey at the same time, and then really intertwining that as a beautiful sacred union, and obviously seeing the growth and beauty in that in your relationship. So that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Krystal, I'd just like to come back to you because you didn't really have an opportunity to talk about your personal story as well too, and something maybe you'd like to talk about. So flipping back to you.
Yeah, so I think my heroine's journey started like this. What I feel is that there are journeys within journeys within journeys, right? So we have our life journey, and then we've got cycles within cycles, and one cycle after another, and intertwining. So it's for me, I would say like the first call to depart was when I was in my early 30s, and I got the call to leave my husband, and we were in the middle. It was really interesting. I had a Reiki initiation, and the Reiki teacher was saying to me, you know what, Krystal, it might be that you'll become more in alignment with who you truly are through this initiation. And it might be that you dislike certain colors all of a sudden, or certain foods, or your taste buds might change. But yeah, I'm not somebody who does things in halves. So, but for me, it was like, okay, I suddenly just started to dislike my husband. I'm like, okay, this is like a big thing. I'm coming into alignment. And yes, I did marry, retrospectively, as we analyze our lives, I recognize that I'm married for safety. And it was now time to depart that safety and step into the unknown and coronate myself as the queen of my life that I am, rather than staying a damsel in distress. And I think, as especially women, we can relate to this archetypal journey of when, for those listening, when was your time that you coronated yourself as the queen of your life, where you really said, okay, I am my own queen. I do not need to rely on anybody. I need to just, most importantly, be in alignment with who I am. And for me, that happened in my early 30s. And then that journey led me through numerous synchronicities, and just asking the universe, where am I meant to be? What am I even meant to be doing? Because the theater doors had closed in order for me to pay attention to, to what I needed to do with my marriage, so that the known world, so to speak, that I had just shut its doors to me and said, no, you're not, this is your safety zone. Your soul is yearning to expand. You need to expand. And so nothing happened anymore. And I was wondering, I was now divorced, single. What was even keeping me? I was living in the UK at the time. What was keeping me here? And so I kept asking these questions. The universe started talking back to me and telling me, through synchronicities, that it was time to go to Australia. So it was a literal dream that I had that got me, it was a literal dream. And I was flying in the airplane, and I heard this voice saying, welcome to Australia. And in that moment, my alarm went off. And I'm like, okay, can't get any crazier or more precise than this. I'll do it. And I had credit on one last credit card. I've had so many credit card debts. And I was saying, what, one more proof and I'll do it. And I got the proof. And so I used that money that I had reserved for my tax bill. I used that money to pay my buy the plane ticket. And I always say, the universe rewards the brave. And when we listen to that in our voice, we always get rewarded. So within 2 weeks' time, I got a translation job that paid me the exact money that I had just paid on the flight. Like literally, you couldn't make this up. And I've been banging on the door of that company for, God, no, half a year. And it was always no, but suddenly they needed somebody just literally those 2 days. I mean, again, it was just the incredible synchronicities. And I think yes, there are trials and tribulations, but if we courageously face them, the universe always rewards us and helps us, it meets us and it helps us on that next step of the journey. So that's just an example of one of mine, of how I've been listening to the call, answering the call, facing the challenge, dealing with the challenge, taking the action, and then getting the reward and ending up in Australia. And here I am. That was 2016. I lose count, many, many years later.
And thank you for the universe bringing you to us as well too, because you are here right now talking about that beautiful story and being able to share your experience in that, which is fabulous. I love that I couldn't have planned that better, because the segue to my next question was actually going to be, can a person have multiple journeys throughout their life? And I think that you touched on that beautifully with suggesting that absolutely. And I would love to hear the thoughts of others as well too about that, having multiple journeys throughout a lifetime and what that might look like for different people at different times. Jo, let's go to you first.
I think it just depends on your perception of it, really, because, life is one big journey, isn't it? But obviously within that, we're going in different journeys. And, changing directions. And I think, like Krystal said, what's really important is to listen to that inner guidance, because very often we know what we should be doing, and we don't do it because it's maybe not the norm in our community or whatever. And, to get the confidence and to have the strength to think, no, hang on, this is my inner guidance. This is happening for a reason, and I need to follow it, and then to take action on that. And I think that does lead you in different directions. And yes, absolutely, there's several journeys within the journey, without a doubt.
Excellent. Love that. Thank you very much, Jo, for your thoughts. We'll go to Adela next, and then we'll check back in with Natasha as well too. And what are your thoughts about the multiple journeys and throughout the lifetime, Adela?
So just tuning into this question, we do sometimes see it as a spiral, but it's actually spiraling up. This is how I see it. So it's like a big, and then maybe that's like getting smaller, and ideally end up in a dot when you are everything. I don't know why this came to me, but I see it as a growth. It's like you kind of have to finish some tasks to be able to step back. So you get the challenge, and I love what Krystal said, that universe reward the brave. So it's actually allowing yourself, giving yourself the permission to be brave and overcome the circle, and being aware and being able to show up for yourself in your best light, breathe through the challenges, and just do it. Just do it and follow your heart, follow your soul.
I love that. Some very wise tips there as well too. Follow your heart and soul. And I love that imagery of the spiral as well, because I do think we're, some people believe, it's a circle of life, but I think that you're right. We can never go back to the same point in time, because we are a different person. Each time we make a decision or we make a new thought pattern that comes in and connect to that, then we are a different person from the person that we were a minute ago, you know, you listening here on this to this panel discussion is shifting your perspective on what you may have been thinking about as your journey too. So we can never go back to that exact point in time. It might feel like it sometimes, but we never do go backwards. There is always that forward momentum and that connection to that spiral. So I love that. Thanks for bringing that in. Yes, Krystal.
If I can just butt in there, because, you know, with the spiral, that's exactly how I see it as well. I see it as a spiral. And sometimes, and I'm sure everybody here can relate to this, is we feel like, oh my God, am I here again? I thought I'd already done this bit. I thought I'd already overcome this, and here I am again. And so often it can feel like we're going backwards, but actually we're just revisiting the same theme at a higher level on the spiral. But we have to do it again. And so at each step, I feel like as we're growing, if we all have core woundings. And so at each step of our evolution, we have to face that threshold of that core wounding again and master it on that next level and on the next level and on the next level. And so sometimes it can feel, oh, we're going backwards, but actually, you know, just like you just said, Bex, we're never going back. We can never go back, but it feels like it because the view is the same, but it's now from a slightly more elevated perspective. And then we're refining and refining and refining.
Absolutely. Sounds we're all speaking the same thing, but saying it differently or different perspectives as well too. So hopefully those that are listening will resonate with what we're saying, either as an individual or as a whole, which is beautiful as well. We all hear different things at the time that we're supposed to help us on our journeys. Natasha, would love to hear your thoughts on the multiple journeys through the heroine's journey and through life, and or what we've just talked about as well with the spiral.
Absolutely. Can you hear me clearly? I've switched my video off.
Yes, we can.
Right. Thanks. So, you know, obviously, like I said, the infrastructure up here is quite minimal. That includes the internet, unfortunately. So I'll start with the spiral. Unsurprisingly, we're all definitely in the same vibrational level, all of us together here. I just in January, a book collaboration was published in which I wrote I contributed a chapter, and my chapter was called "Here We Go Again," and it's a practice of radical acceptance, and that's exactly what Krystal was talking about. And you know, everyone's talking about the same thing: the spirals and the cycles. And oh my God, I've done all this work? Do I have to do it again? Why? And so I write in my chapter that it's yes, because things are cycles, and I love this spiral. I've always said cycles so far, but so the up and the down and the seasons of life and the days and nights and whatever. What actually my perspective has been so far that it's not that we never have to go back again, but we revisit it with a new awareness, like you guys are saying, and we're able to cycle through it faster, because we have the tools to our disposal. So it's not as traumatic as it was when the wound was first created, right? So that's how I am able to accept, give into the flow with faith and not fear, and just surrender to what is. And surrender to me is more of a giving in rather than a giving up, and that I find extremely empowering. And I want to say how amazed I am with, you know, I tried to speak, but the internet had cut out. When Bex, you said that my journey right now, this physical call to change my space was my husband's hero journey as much as my heroine journey. And oh my God, I can't tell you what you hit on, because our transformation is just, it's so difficult to. Your own personal transformation is challenging enough. And then to have another person who's being challenged, and then to accept each other and go through the phases, what Krystal said, of not liking each other. Oh my goodness. But then, and it's not that I haven't, and I think part of that happens when you rise up to be a hero or a heroine. It's a solo journey. It's really difficult to do it with a partner. But the way that I have accepted it is that, yes, I called him into my life when I was low, when I needed the safety, when I was damaged, before I did all this work on myself. But I chose him because I loved him. And just because I'm shifting and changing, do I necessarily think this is toxic? Do I have to walk away? Can I try to make this work? And I've been working on it, and sometimes it gets really, really difficult. And then I realize he has his journey. And then Bex, what you said, this last full moon and this eclipse hit us really badly. He's a Cancerian, and it was just really bad. And normally I'm not one to like go into the planetary rhetoric. I like to take self-responsibility, but it was just so obvious that it was the full moon, and it was so obvious that it was the eclipse, and we were shattered. Our relationship was shattered, and it was almost completely over, Krystal, exactly what you were saying. And then we shifted and we came on the other side, stronger and together, the way that you said, Bex. So it is just amazing. And literally, what am I talking? I'm talking 2-3 days ago, right? That was when the eclipse was. So it's as recent as that. But I think me being here today and getting the message from the universe that, you know, he's as much of a hero as much as I am a heroine is really empowering. And I have intense gratitude to each and every one of you for being here with me today. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your personal story too, Natasha. That is, you know, really inspiring to hear that you are going through it at the moment, and you have gone through it, and it can be as quick as that, you know, as a few days as well too. So the spiral doesn't, or the journey doesn't have to last forever or over multiple years. It can be as quick as over a couple of days, or even you can go on a bit of a journey with yourself and your thoughts in a very short amount of time as well too. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a long drawn out process. It can be a short, sharp process, but it also can be a shared process. And that's also a great segue into my next question. I love how it does just fall into place as we have conversations. And I'd love to ask about some practical tips. So some practical tips about how you support yourself going through a journey. And then if you're in relationship with others, or if it's, you know, you can't just put yourself in a cupboard until you get through some journeys, you know, there are relationships and there are, you know, external influences. So practical tips for yourself, but also if you're in relationship with others at the time too, and how you might navigate that. So I'm feeling drawn to go to Adela first on this question, and then we'll head over to Joe, and we'll go to Krystal, and then circle back to Natasha. And I'll put out a call as if anyone has any last question that they'd love to share with the panel, this is your opportunity, because from this question, we'll probably go into the host or the panelists explaining some ways that you can get in contact with them, and then also what sacred you can offer you as well. So just recapping, Adela, that question, how practical tips for yourself, and also if you're in relationship with others at the time going through a journey.
Thank you for this question. This is actually what I was talking about partially in my circle yesterday. We had a meeting. This is something that came to me, that sometimes when you have really so much going on, you kind of, you know, you want to reach out to some simple tool because you don't have time for, I don't know, meditation or tuning in, yoga, something that really helps. And what came to me was very interesting. So it was just tuning in and connecting to your most joyful moment, creating the emotion and creating the feeling within your body, and stepping into the gratitude, stepping into the joy. And just on, I don't know, you're on 5-minute breaks, just feel into this. And that is very helpful. I actually participated one of the most amazing, there was like a healing system, and they use this tool to heal your body. And I just saw like how effective it can be. And it's just so simple. It can also be, it doesn't have to be from memory, but it can be from future. So something you wish to do or would make you feel the most joyful. So I feel that this would be like for someone who doesn't have so much time. What I love to do for myself is dancing, it's doing something creative. I love to meditate. I love all the movement. I love connection to nature. There are zillions, but I just felt that I would talk more about, you know, for like just a little hint. little hint what we can do. It takes 1 minute, like really feel into the joyful moment.
Absolutely love that, because obviously some of us are time poor. I'm going to say everybody is. Some of us are time poor. So maybe that just minute connection with ourselves can really bring us back to that journey and where we're at to be able to support ourselves in that. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Adela. Jo, what are your thoughts on some practical tips for self and others?
I think the most important one for me that I also always point out to my clients is it's really, really important that we're compassionate with ourselves, because so often we're hard on ourselves. We get frustrated that we want to get to that next level, and we get frustrated that we can't get there. And I think, if we're taking 2 steps forward and then you're taking a step back, you're still moving forward. And I love the idea of that journey going sort of on the spiral as well. I think that's been amazing to hear about that today. And I think the other thing is that, as we change, people change around us. So I don't know how long I've been married, but for quite a while. So I've changed hugely. And, it hasn't always been easy, because my husband, he doesn't get any of what I do, really. He's supportive, and he kind of gets it in terms of that I help clients. But in terms of energy healing, the whole spiritual thing, he really doesn't, he's not interested in it at all. So, as I've changed, and, a lot of things that I've had to do is things like, so I work with psychosomatics, as I said. Some of the psychosomatics of patterns of people with migraines are things like having poor boundaries, being people pleasers. So a lot of what I've had to address with myself, he's noticed that, because I've suddenly put boundaries in place. I've suddenly stopped putting everybody else first. I've put on my own oxygen mask first and taking care of myself first, so that then I can look after others, from the overflow, rather than sort of burning out. So it has, of course, from that point of view, been something that everybody around me has noticed, because I've changed. I've changed quite a bit, and I found the kids adjust quite quickly because they're younger and they adapt. They just take it as it is. And it has been harder sort of from a marriage point of view, but as we change, as our energy changes, as our frequency changes, it actually just spreads to those around us. And, my husband has been on quite a journey as well. He doesn't recognise it. He would, if I said I'd been talking about his hero's journey, he'd be horrified, because that's just not a concept he would get at all. But he has, and I can just see the evolution that he's gone through as well. And we have as a whole family, and, as well with some friends as well. Some friends go by the wayside a little bit more. New people come into your circle. But I think it's just allowing, don't have too much expectation, just allow for these changes to happen, and allow for them to happen gently. There's no great rush. And I think in terms of being kind to yourself, it's always helpful to, because we have this inner dialogue, don't we? We'll be talking to ourselves and giving ourselves pep talks all the time. And I think what's really useful is to, as we do that, imagine we were talking to our best friend. Would we say that to our best friend? Because so often we wouldn't. And really change that inner dialogue so that we are, truly kind and truly compassionate to ourselves. It's so important. It makes it all so much easier.
I love that. Self-compassion, self-care, and you are the ripple effect for others. They will get that ripple effect of you changing and your journey, whether they know it or not, as the journey. So love that, Jo. We'll go to Krystal, and then we'll go to Natasha. Thank you. What a practical.
All right. So my tip, being a publisher, obviously has to do with writing. So I find writing has an incredibly transformational power, because when we sit down and we allow ourselves to just be with ourselves and our thoughts, the first thing that can happen is it just empties out what is. And often, especially in, I'm drawing on an exercise that was In the Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, called The Morning Pages. And some of you may have come across it. And basically what it is, you don't have to do it in the morning necessarily, but first, in order to be really effective, she is saying, first thing in the morning, you sit down and you write stream of consciousness as fast as you can without stopping for 15 minutes. And you actually set a timer. And I find when we set a timer, there is something that stops our mind from wandering, because we know we have this 15 minutes dedicated to writing, and 15 minutes is just long enough to overcome the mind blocks that the mind puts in the way, and the wanting to wanting to interfere and judge and go back. And it's long enough and it's short enough to stay focused and to be able to say, no, I'm writing. And so I've done this exercise over a period of 3 months, and I actually literally wrote myself into clarity again as I was on one of those thresholds as to what next. I wrote myself into clarity, and at the end of that journey, because I didn't know what to do professionally, life coaching showed up. So initially, it's like a verbal diarrhea. It's like you just brain dump everything comes out, and often initially it could be quite the negative self-talk that's in the mind that we normally are not even aware in the conscious in the waking time. It'll suddenly all appear on paper, and we're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I thought that. But as we keep writing, we're almost like refining. It's like going up a spiral again. We're emptying out. And then as there's more space in our mind, which is not meant to be a storage device, it's meant for the divine, thoughts to flow through us. As we're emptying out more and more and more, we can actually hear our intuition, we can hear our inner guidance, and it can come through, and we can start asking questions. And then as we're putting them on the page, the answer already comes in. And so we literally can write ourselves into clarity. It can sometimes become the voice that comes through. It can become quite instructional. You have to do this and this and this and this. And before we know it, there's our instruction manual for the day. There's the clarity that we need. So it's a fascinating process to really using the power of writing to get everything out of the mind onto the paper, externalize it so we can see it more clearly.
Love that concept, and have done that morning notes a lot actually over the years, and writing myself into clarity. I didn't know that was what I was doing, but I actually think that I was. So that's beautiful practical tip as well. Thanks, Krystal. Natasha, any tips and practical tips for self and
I absolutely love the fact that I'm following Krystal, because Krystal's a publisher, and obviously I'm an author, and my journey of becoming a published author was a heroine's journey for sure. I mentioned the chapter that I contributed. The book was called Mindset Mastery, and it's mindfulness and spiritual practices for, and awareness and meditation for the spiritual warrior. That's what it is. It was published by Brave Hille Productions in the US. And there, where I wrote Here We Go Again, we shared tips and tools there as well. So since I've mentioned that here, I'll share the tool that I wrote about in that chapter. And that was basically, it's a similar zone as what Adela was saying. It is about embracing the inner happy child, finding things that gave us immense joy before the world taught me, and coloring.
I think we've lost Natasha again. I feel like she might pop back in too, but
dancing, moving off to like run in circles. Have you lost me? Is this better? Is this better?
That is now,
Is
yes.
this better? Oh no. Can you hear me now? Is this better?
We can hear you if you can hear us.
I can hear you. I walked around and found signal. So yes, just unlocking the happy inner child, just being playful with yourself, and just tapping into that part of you in order to find one existence, away from all fears and doubts and insecurities and stress. So any activity that sort of helps you unleash that, I find is very helpful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Natasha. And
Thank you.
You're doing that in nature now as well too. So I'd like to honor that. So
Yes, absolutely.
we've got a few minutes left, and I'd love to give the opportunity to each of the panelists to let us know how we can get in contact with them and if they've got any special offers or anything they'd like to offer us at the moment. Probably about 2 minutes each, because we do need to then cross back over to Sophia so she can tell us what's happening in the community, because we're in our launch phase at the moment, which is fabulous as well. So we'll start with Adela, then go to Krystal, Natasha, then Joe.
So as I already mentioned, I run the Embodiment Woman Circle. We dance sometimes, something I was talking about again. So if you want to come and join, we can move our hips. So I run those every Tuesday. So I had one yesterday. It is 7:30 p.m. Sydney time. So feel free to pop in and have a try. And I run a masterclass on Divine Feminine Energy, which is going to be the 16th this month. And it's going to be 10 a.m.
Fabulous. Joe?
I thought you were going in a different order.
If I was, I'm sorry if I just fucking it up.
I think the links are attached, aren't they, to the replay for Facebook? Because I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm just putting together a 6-week energetic upgrade, which is very much focused on individuals. It's all one-to-one healing. It's all mentoring within that. So I'm basically providing a 6-week container where you can completely, transform your life. And very much, the starting point is pains, ailments, discomfort, or whatever, whatever's holding you back in business or in life. And it's going to cover whatever anybody needs to cover. Everybody's very unique. Everybody's on their own journey. So it's going to cover what's specific to that person.
Sounds awesome. Is Natasha there? Thank you very much, Joe. We'll go to Natasha first, Krystal, and we'll come to you if that's okay. Just mindful of her internet and if she's found a good spot.
I'm standing still in that spot. I hope it's working.
Fabulous. I had a sense in
Okay.
So go for it.
So I run the money and manifestation, money mindset and manifestation tribe in our community, and we meet on Thursdays at 8 a.m. Sydney time. So that's like that's a weekly thing, and then I'm doing a masterclass on the same subject on the 19th of May, which is basically the last masterclass before I launch. So it would be great for anybody and everybody to join in as we get to know each other. We'll have some interesting exercises and self-discoveries and hopefully shifts. And that, I think it's also at 10 a.m. I'm not sure. I mean, I think I'll request Sophia to put the masterclass details in our chat. That would be great. So that's the best way to find me on our community. Thank you.
We heard all of that, so that's wonderful, Natasha. It must have been the right moment when the satellites were aligned. Thanks, Krystal, for waiting.
Yay.
Back with you in your office as well.
Of course, thank you. So I always have multi-author book opportunities available if anybody is interested in expressing and diving into their own hero's journey and exploring that to bring more clarity into that, which then increases confidence, releases shame, and really helps us to show up in a bigger way in the world. Because for me, as I said earlier, writing is about transformation. It's about empowerment, the empowerment of the writer, but also then the empowering through our stories and the sharing of the vulnerability of our stories of the reader. So I've always got opportunities to join a multi-author book. I've also got a Author Archetype Quiz where you can identify and learn what kind of writer you are, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And it's based around, obviously archetypes, but also around the 4 elements and the wheel of life. So it's really tapping into some really archetypal, rich and juicy principles, and then drawing on writing techniques that you can use that will suit your archetype. And I also have a masterclass coming up on the 19th of May at 10 a.m. Sydney time, and it's called Authorship Unleashed: How to craft a compelling bestseller even if you don't think you can write.
Wow, some very juicy offers from everybody there. Thank you very much, Krystal. I might be joining you on one of those masterclasses, I think, for sure. And of course, I am Bex Smith, and I also host the Sydney Tribe, but have a flow report that might actually help you in change and going through that beautiful heroine's journey if you're going through something, because that'll help you find your passion and your pain points in life. And so really leaning into the passion, and then, you know, maybe not having so much of that pain as we all probably would love to lessen in our lives. So you can contact all of us through the links that are in all of the things that Sophia's been doing behind the scenes. So thank you very much, Sophia, for putting all our links in. Please do get in touch. We've got communities and we've also got tribes. So there's a great opportunity for you to connect with us and also other beautiful people in this beautiful space. So over to you, Sophia. I just want to thank the panel for really having some great conversation. I'm inspired and have been reflecting on my heroine's journey, and I think I'm going to be doing my morning pages again and writing about it a bit more. So thank you very much for joining us to the panel, and also those that were live as well too, and those that are watching the replay. Just tag us if you want to talk to us as well. Thanks, Sophia.
Absolutely, and thank you, Bex. This has been wonderful. I've been sitting here in the background putting everyone's links in and having like listening to everyone, and it's been really, really helpful for me and for everyone who's been listening. We have had quite a few people listening over all our different platforms. So just want to, again, for me, on behalf of our community and for Bex, first of all, thank you, Bex, again, and thank you to all our beautiful panelists who've shared their passion for the last hour on that. So do click on the links below. And as we mentioned, we are launching. Sacred You is in the middle of launching. We've got another 10 days to go, and lots of wonderful masterclasses coming up and a couple of more panel discussions. Natasha is doing the Money Mind Manifestation Masterclass, and our beautiful Adela in 1 week. In 1 week's time, do tune in, come and join us for Adela's Masterclass. And Adela, do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Just quickly.
Yes. So it will be about getting in touch in our divine feminine, and I will be sharing some tips and tricks, something really simple, something I shared today, that it's not too complex. Everyone can do it, and you can be playful with that. So it's really about like tapping into your feminine flow and joy and creativity. I will be having meditation and a little healing session or activation, depending what's going to be the vibe. So don't miss out. It's going to be super trooper.
Wonderful. So thank you very much. I look forward to that. Do click on all the links in the comments to find out about that. We would absolutely love for you to join us. And at that stage, come and join our community. I mean, why not? It's just $1 Australian. You get to try out all of our tribes, including Adela's tribe on Embodied Women's Circle, Natasha's tribe on Money Mind Manifestation. If you're in the Sydney area, you can join Bex with the Sydney tribe. Plus, we have over 20, almost 30 special interest tribes that you can trial out for 3 weeks just for $1 Australian. And then after that, it's just $15 Australian per month. But join us now, because when we launch on the 20th of May, the price will be going up and the 3 weeks will be going down to 2 weeks. So come and join us. Click on the links below. And if you have any questions, pop them in the comments or contact us. Thank you, everyone, for such a beautiful time. It has been really, really appreciated. I've had a wonderful time, and I know other people who've been watching have also enjoyed it too. So thank you.